I'm joined now by artist Michael Collins. Michael, thank you for being here. I'm excited because your stuff is different than anything that I have looked at really recently. You are an illustrator, painter. How do you describe yourself?
All around artist is kind of how I do it, just dabbling. But I've always been like illustrator, kind of goes back to like I've always drawn as a kid. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the root of it all.
Okay, I hear that a lot. Lots of artists tell me that they started with, doodling or just drawing. Did you kind of feel right away like you were good at it, or did you?
It's definitely one of the first things like I remember as a kid, like getting attention from other people, being like, oh, this is something you're good at.
Yeah.
And like, so it was something I always did. And it was kind of like in a form of escapism from class too, because no kid really wants to be in class. I mean, some kids do.
Some
but
kids.
I was definitely daydreaming and drawing and doodling and
And then
kind
what
of
about-
passing by as I can.
What about art class? Was that
I
fun,
did
or?
some in high school. I wish I would have done more and gotten more involved in the programs. And then I actually did 3 years of college at IPFW and their art program, which is amazing. So I've had a couple of professors over there that were great.
So how do you describe your work? Do you have an aesthetic, or?
It all kind of like comes, like I can kind of show my influences, and I think when I explain my influences, it kind of makes sense to people. Like I always read Calvin and Hobbes and like Charles Schultz's Peanuts growing up. So like I have that like childhood innocence fact of it that I love, like the childlike wonder of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And then when I got in high school, I also found the artist Ralph Steadman, who did a lot of Hunter S. Thompson's work, and it's kind of that zany, crazier style. And then Robert Crumb, which is like a 60s, 70s kind of alternative artist that's kind of like comic books, but a little bit weirder and out there and stuff like that. And with those influences combined with like, I grew up watching like 90s cartoons and stuff like that, it
Yeah.
kind of all comes together and coalesces to what I do.
Yeah. When you set out to create a piece, are you trying to infuse some social commentary? Do you want it to say something?
Occasionally. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't do that. Sometimes it just happens by a happy little accident, or sometimes I'll sneak it in there kind of subtly because I do want it to be approachable for other people, and I want people to take their own meaning away from it instead of, I don't always necessarily like the people of like the idea of like preaching to people or
Sure.
like having that idea is never fun to me.
Tell me about your process. I mean, you are multidisciplinary, so I'm sure that it's different depending on what you're creating. But for an illustration, for example, how does it work? Do you have the idea first? Do you sit down knowing what you're going to create?
A lot of the time I doodle a lot, so I'll have all these different characters and settings that I can pull from. And a lot of the time when I start, because I do a lot of event posters for bands and stuff like that, before I start the painting, I'll do some rough sketches, but a lot of the time I just kind of hop into it and start real loose pencil, and then I'll go in with pen and sketch out more distinct figures and stuff like that, and then finish with paint.
I'm assuming it's acrylic paint?
Yeah.
And then what is the best part of taking an idea and then having something tangible at the end of it?
The pushing past the like I hate this moment, because like there's a lot of that I think with any kind of art form or any kind of work you do. You're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This isn't looking exactly how I wanted. And if you keep pushing through that, a lot of the time you'll get to the point where you're like, okay, this is how I want it to look, or it's better than what I thought it was going to be.
Do you know when you're finished? So many artists tell me that they have a hard time discerning when they're done.
Yeah, I could usually keep going. Usually when the due date is when I'm finished, I guess.
Yeah.
I could keep on a project for a while and add something here and there. And I have paintings around the house that I've like had probably for 4 or 5 years, and every once in a while I'll pull out and like do something different on and change a little bit.
Do you prefer doing your own work or doing commission work? Is it? I imagine it's harder to do commissions because it's not your vision.
I'm always grateful for the commissions I get, and they're fun to do, and I have a lot of people who do get them from me they're always great and easy to deal with, and posters are always fun too because I get a lot of freedom with that. But ultimately if I could just sit down and have no like, I guess, customer in mind, or this is going to someone specific and I can just do whatever I want, that's the most fun for me at least.
And how often are you creating?
I try and do it at least be drawing once a day. It's because I do work full time, so I've been trying to fit that in as well. So, and it falls in and out of practice, and I'm at my happiest when I am drawing or doing something subtle, even if it's something small every day. That's what I try and do.
So you've been drawing forever. When did you start painting your drawings?
I used to work for Bravas,
Sure.
and I started doing posters for them, and that was kind of the push for me to start doing more full color and stuff like that. They kind of expected a little more, and that's kind of when I started getting paid to do it too. So that was the push for me to kind of change and explore more stuff, and I had a little more money at my disposal then to branch out. And then from there, I met the local band Bee Colony, and I do a lot of posters for them, and they're kind of a psychedelic rock band, so the color kind of has to go with it. And
Sure.
those two were probably the two that pushed me to do the most like color painting and reach out.
So you've been drawing / painting pretty much forever. How have you seen your style and your skill evolve over the years?
It's funny because I look back and a lot of it still does look the same, but I've gotten a lot better with paint, I've noticed. I look back at some of my college work and it's just all the lessons that my professors were telling me in college, I think I apply to my work now because I look back and I see my college work and I'm like, oh, this is lacking in that. Or like,
Yeah.
I can hear them saying like, oh, make this darker. Like, you know, like take it as dark as you can. Like if you're gonna make something black and like have your like highlights and your shadows, like stark contrast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of changing, I've gotten a little more loose and confident, I think, in terms of my painting style. And that's been nice to be able to explore that and feel more confident in what I am doing.
Actually, as I was looking at your work, I was like, oh, this would lend itself so well to murals.
I actually did one downtown at Poppy's Pizza.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah. That was my first one I've done, and that was an experience. That was really cool.
Yeah, tell me how that works. How do you go from a small canvas to,
I kind of approached it the same way I approached my posters too, is I just started sketching and then I started drawing on the wall. A lot of people were surprised when they were like, oh, you didn't use like a projector or anything.
Yeah.
I just kind of went for it and it was just like drawing on a big piece of paper.
did you have it on at least on a small piece first?
I had a
Did you
very
know?
rough sketch, and because yeah, they were asking for like ideas, and I only had like 3 or 4. They were like, yeah, let me see what you got so far, and I was like, I had these very rough sketches, and I kind of had to be like, it's gonna be cool, I promise.
Yeah.
Like I know these sketches aren't showing a lot, but it's all in my head, I promise.
And then you have the confidence to know that what's in your head is going to.
Sometimes I have the confidence, and other times you just fake it. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this, and I'm gonna do my best job, and it's gonna turn out great.
Yeah.
It was a big learning lesson, but I had a lot of help from my girlfriend. She was support the entire time and would help fill in areas for me. Sometimes I'd have a section that I was like, okay, this just has to be a solid color. I just need you to put paint down. It's the pushing through it. It's the just like, I just got to keep doing this. It's that perseverance. I've always been a really optimistic person. I've always been able to be like, this is going to turn out. Everything's going to turn out.
Yeah.
And so if you can just keep working through it, usually a lot of the time it does.
Tell me about the hardest part of getting from start to finish. You've mentioned the pushing through, but is the starting ever hard? Is there?
Sometimes looking at that blank paper or blank canvas can be pretty intimidating. I've learned and I've started by starting on smaller pieces and just doing them. I've kind of been able to like move up to bigger pieces and apply that same thing of just like, you gotta just hop in and start doing it. And that's, probably your biggest setback is you holding yourself back, or it's easy to find reasons to procrastinate. There's always like, oh, I'm tired, or I worked all day, and so if you can push past that, that's usually the hardest part, honestly.
Isn't that funny how you can know that being creative is good for you mentally, and yet sometimes it's just hard to get
You're
started?
like, it's just so much, it doesn't necessarily have the instant reward that like putting your favorite TV show on and sitting down after the long day.
Yeah.
It does.
Do you feel like when you think about your art, do you want to continue to learn in a formal sense? Do you try to learn new techniques, or
Yeah,
are
I'm always soaking in things from other artists, looking at their techniques and the way they do it. And I think a lot of artists are this way, is you have to be a little bit of like a sponge to be any kind of creative, honestly. You're always hearing something, you're like, I kind of like that. How do I make my own version of that? Or I take that and apply that to my practice.
Yeah.
So
And does that come easily to you?
I think it's hard to walk a line of like just straight up doing someone else's style.
Sure.
And kind of finding your own. And it takes practice, I think. Everyone, especially as like a young artist, I think my art probably looked more like someone else's art. But the more I did it, I found that niche of where I fit in to take those influences, not make them scream at you like, oh, he's just redoing this, you know.
Right.
I've got a dog character I kind of always like drawing. That'll probably always stick with me, and it kind of like grew. That's probably, if you could look at anything I do that screams your influences, it probably looks incredibly like Snoopy. But
That's not a bad thing. What do you think art, and your art in particular, has taught you about yourself?
it's taught me that I am happiest when I'm doing something creative, and to tap into that kind of goofy, silly side of stuff. But you can kind of embed some serious commentary into that.
Yeah.
But also to just kind of have fun, and the world is kind of crazy, and you just kind of have to have a good time while you can, and look out for others and be kind is just like I feel like if you could put all my art into like a couple of words or try and put it in a sentence or something like that, it's something like that.
As a viewer, I would definitely agree with that. I was scrolling through your Instagram thinking, this is just happy. Like, I enjoy looking at this work. Michael, you are a pleasure. I appreciate you coming and sitting down with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here and talk with you.
For more information, find Michael Collins Art on Instagram.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne,